All right, 5.5, general application of percents. So we'll be using the percent proportions on these, but there's a clever way to use the percent proportion. Um, well, we won't use it on this one, but we'll see an example of how it's useful, and you could use it on this one though. So at a restaurant, the bill comes to 28 bucks. If you decide to leave a tip at 15%, how much total do you need to pay? And we'll give our answer to the nearest dollar. Okay. Um, Seems interesting that we're rounding the nearest dollar. Maybe that's probably a good tip anyways. By the way, you guys, just so you understand, like if you tip poorly, I wouldn't go back. Okay, because they'll get you. You may never know it. They just will. Okay. In any case, so yeah, part of this class, a good idea is to tip well. That's what you can learn from this class. Okay. So the percent proportion, like I said, right? It's always percent over 100, and they did tell us the percent right here at 15%. Now, this one doesn't really come with the structure of the is and of setup. Okay, so we just need to think in terms of the part and the whole. And the other value that they give us is this 28 bucks. Okay. Now, we're looking at a restaurant bill. Is that the whole restaurant bill, or is that only part of the restaurant bill? Well, another way to think about this is that the 15% is going to be of the 28 bucks. Or in other words, this could be rewritten as what is 15% of 28. Okay, so the 28 is actually the whole. It's the whole bill right now, of course, without the tip. And the 15% is coming from the 28. So I just don't know what part of that part of 28 is. Or I don't know what 15% of 28 is. So this sets up the proportion for us, which we can then solve. And I'd start with 15 times 28. I'll just put that in the calculator. 15 times 28, which is 420. And this is going to equal 100 times x. Well, just like we saw in the last section, we're going to divide both sides by 100 to make that 1x. So x, that's the amount of the tip, $4.20. Now this is not the answer though, because the question is asking how much total do you need to pay? Well, you're going to pay the $4.20. Yeah, so I used a percent. Maybe I should have taken a break, right? Well, in any case, you're going to pay the 28 bucks, not 15. And then you'll add the $4.20. Bam. Okay, now this will tell us how much, again, the final bill would be, just 32.20. Now again, we got to round this to the nearest dollar. I would just keep it as is, or just round it up instead. But for what we have right here, it wants to round to the nearest dollar, which is this 2. And this 2 is less than 5 in the tenths place. So we're just going to keep this at $32, which is now rounded to the nearest dollar. All right, solving percent word problems. Again, it sets up the same way. Again, the whole is usually directed to the 100%, just like we saw in that last example. Yeah, the part, most of these word problems are going to give us the whole, okay? But yeah, we have to be careful with the percent because it may ask for a different part than what we initially think. What that means is depending on how it's worded, okay? So there are some situations where we can't use, like we did in that last example, directly the 15%, okay? We got to be careful with how it's worded and what percent it actually is asking for. Because if it does give us a part, we need to figure out how that correlates or is related to the percent that we need to use in the percent proportion. So yeah, what we did was finding the tip amount first, okay? But like I said, there's two different methods to do this. Let's use the tip percent to solve this problem though, okay? And it's still in the percent proportion, which is, I think, is really nice on this one. So I guess we will use both methods on this one, and that's okay. Now we still know the whole bill is 28 bucks, okay? Part of the bill is not only going to be the percent though, okay? Now, let me clarify this, right? As I said, you got to be careful with the percent that it's asking for. Well, it wanted the total amount that we're going to pay, okay? Now, what that means is that I am going to pay 100% of the bill, okay? Automatic. It's just, in addition to the 100% that I'm going to pay, I'm also going to pay this 15% tip. Now, again, if you guys don't like this method, don't use it. But it works, and for some of you guys will think, well, this is shorter, and then I can use it, and that's okay. What I don't know is what that 100% and 15% is in dollars, okay? Or in other words, let's simplify this. All right, it's still x over 28. I still don't know what the part is. But how much percentage am I paying of the bill? Well, you're going to pay 100% and 15%. That's really 115%, you guys. So as a percent, as a tip, I just add the percent onto it using this method, and I don't need to add anything at the end. So where before I added the tip at the end in dollars, using this method I add the tip as a percent in the beginning. Again, whether you like it or not is really up to you, or whether you prefer this method or not, again, still up to you, okay? But you're going to see that it's going to give us the same answer. We'll still round to the nearest dollar. So in this case, I got 28 times 115. And I'm just putting that in my calculator, which is 3220. And this equals 100 times x. But again, to solve this, I divide both sides by 100 to make that 1x. And we see the same answer, right? $32.20. This is not rounded, of course. But we see the same exact answer. But again, I've done the addition at the beginning of the problem, not the end. So just rounded, this becomes 32 bucks. Yeah, 32 bucks. Okay, so again, you get to choose which method you like. In some cases, depending on how it's worded, we may have to use this method though. So be careful. I prefer this method just because it's quicker. But if the other method where you find the amount of the tip first in dollars and then add it on, still valid, okay? So find the amount of tax after and the after-tax selling price, round to the nearest cent if necessary. So the second method that we just saw isn't necessarily as applicable in this case, because in this one we need two answers. We need the amount of the tax and then the actual final price with the tax. 25% seems like a lot of tax. Whatever. All right. Well, let's do this one then. And again, I'm using that first method where I'm going to find the amount of the tax in dollars first. So I know my percent at 25. And I know my whole amount, or the original price, at 46. I used the wrong color. $46.40. And I want the part in this case. Now again, this will tell me the X right here is the 25%. So it's going to tell me how much the tax would be on this $46.40, whatever the heck this is. So yep, going back to cross multiplication. 25 times 46.40. 1160. So that's my first cross multiply equals 100 times x. Divide both sides by 100. So that's going to be $11.60. Now that's the amount of tax. And we'll label that, we'll box it in. That looks pretty good. And to find the final price, or the after-tax selling price, I still got to take my $46.40. So that's the full price of whatever this is. And I need to add in the tax, $11.60. So this ends up being 0, carry the 1, 58 bucks after tax. Yeah, for that second method, you would have taken $46.40 and multiplied it not by 25%, but 125%. Because again, you have to pay the full amount, $46.40, but then the additional 25%, which makes it, this would have been 125 instead of 25 right there. But again, that would have given you directly the after tax. Now you could have found the tax from that with subtraction, right? 58 minus 46.40 would have told you the amount of tax as well. Now commissions are going to work the same exact way as taxes, and this one is not asking for the final sell price of whatever this is. It's just asking for the commission straight up. So in this case, we do need only, well, would be in that other problem, the tax part of the percent proportion. So we got 7.9%, so 7.9 over 100. And the sell price still is the full amount, which would have been 8,200 bucks. I just want to know what part of that 8,200 is. So the unknown is the x, the numerator of that fraction. And now I can solve this, and this will tell me the amount of the commission. So multiplying 7.9 times 8,200. See, I just, again, use your calculator just to make sure. 64,780. And this equals the other cross multiplied 100 times x. Now, divide both sides by 100 to make that 1x. And x equals, what the heck is that? 647.80. And by the way, you guys may have noticed I'm not putting these in the calculator because when you divide by 100, it's the same as moving the decimal 2 times to the left. So this is the commission, by the way. So whatever this is being sold here, whoever's selling it, making a commission of 7.9%, would have made $647.80 on this $8,200 purchase. All right, use the given information to find the new price. Round that to the nearest cent. All right, this one's a discount though, okay? So that's why it's saying it wants a new price. You guys, this one would be good to practice. So take a minute, see if you can find the new price after taking this 20% discount, all right? And for this one, we'll show both methods, but you guys try it out. Take 1 minute, go. All right, let's go ahead and get started on this one. If you're still working, just finish up and then check your work with what we get. So the percent proportion on this one, I mean, nothing new here. Out of 100. So I said we'd do both methods. Let's start with the first method, all right, where I figure out how much money the discount is. So I would take that off of this 74.54. Okay, and the percent shows at 20%, so it's 20 over 100. And again, the original price is the whole amount, right? The 20% is of the 74.54. So I'm looking for this part, the 20% of the 74.54. And I have a percent proportion I can solve. So 74.54 times 20. Putting that in the calculator. 1490.8, that's okay. And yeah, that equals 100x. So dividing both sides by 100, I get x equals 14.9. I'll round that because it is a dollar amount. I'll round that to the nearest cent. So I got $14.91. This is the amount of the discount, right? So I need to go back. I need to take my 74.54 and I need to subtract my 14.91. So what is that? 369 59.63, and this would be the final selling price of, I didn't say what it was, the final selling price or the new price. Now that's method 1. Let's look at method 2. So I'm still going to use the percent proportion, right? Out of 100 equals, and yeah, it's still the full amount is still 74.54. And in fact, the unknown is still the same amount. The question is on this one is if I use the percent and I use it in the beginning, right? So it's 20% off of how much percent? It's off of the 100%, okay? So what I really need to do is I need to take 100% and I'm taking off 20%, which means that in the end I'm paying 80%. So this sets up the proportion to give us the answer or the new price at the end of this percent proportion. And of course we would see that this should work. So 74.54 times 80, you can put in the calculator. Well, let's put it in the calculator. 74.54 times 80. So that's, yeah, we can see seeing some of the same values show up. 5963.2, and this would equal the other cross, 100 times x. Now, just to save us some time, I'm not going to show the divide by 100, and this is going to round anyways to 5963. We see we get the same answer either way, even after the rounding at 5963. So you could say, it again, depending on where you want to put the discount, do you want to put it at the end like we did this first method, or do you want to put it in the beginning like we did in the second method? The choice is yours. A department store holds a year-end clearance sale that includes 7.4% discount on cosmetics. Find the sale price of a bottle of perfume if its original price was $56.20. So we'll use one of the methods, more for the sake of time than anything on this one. But the percent proportion still stays. And the original price being $56.20, still the whole. And the percent was shown at 7.4%. So the most common method that students use is the first method. So that's what I'm going to go with on this one, where we don't know how much the discount is in dollars. But solving this proportion will tell us. So my first cross multiplication, 7.4 times 56.2 is 415.88. Yeah, that's going to equal the other cross, 100 times x there. Then of course we'll divide both sides by 100. We're going to make that 4.1588. Now again, we're dealing with dollars here, so I'm just going to round this to the nearest hundredth or penny, and this 8 is going to add 1 to the 5, so it ends up being $4.16. Now I need to add that to the original amount of, I'm sorry, this is a discount, so I need to subtract it, $56.20, and we're taking off $4.16 because it's a discount, and that gives us $52.04. So the final price on this thing, $52.04. Now, just with a calculator, we can show this pretty quick. If it was 107.4%, right? I would have taken 107.4, multiplied it by the 56. No, I'm sorry. It was a discount. I apologize. So I would subtract. So I take 100 and minus the 7.4. And so I can see I'm paying 92.6% of the original price. Let's multiply that by 56.20. Then divide it by 100. And we see $52. And rounded, that would be 4 cents. So again, we get the same answer from either method that we use. Melissa paid $170 for an item that was originally priced at $330. What percent of the original price did Melissa pay? And we'll round to the nearest 0.1% if we need to. All right. Well, she paid $170 for an item that was originally $330. Yeah, and you guys notice I'm rereading this just to make sure I do this correct, okay? So, percent proportion, same thing. 100% of this price would be what the original price is at $330. And we're paying a discounted price at $170. That's only part of the $330. Of course, we don't know the percent. So this will tell us the percent, though, directly, because it corresponds with the 170, and it's asking what percent of the original price did Melissa pay. Well, 170, we're trying to figure out what 170 is as a percent of 330. So hopefully that kind of makes sense why we use the is and of wording in setting up the percent proportion as well. Well, we're ready to solve this. So first cross multiplication, 330 times x equals 170 times 100. That'd be 17,000. And then divide both sides by 330. I don't know what that is, but 1x. 17,000 in the calculator divided by 330. And this comes out to 51, said to the nearest 0.1%. It shows 0.51, so it's just going to stay 0.5 as a percent. So, if you paid $170 for a $330 item, you would have paid 51.5% of the original price. Now, the next question related to this problem would have been something like, well, what percent off did you get? Well, you just take 100 minus 51.5 to figure that value out. All right, now Royce paid $132 for an item at the store that was 40% off the original price. What was the original? All right, now this one we got to be careful because it tells us the percent, right? And it tells us how much he paid for the item. So this one's going to set up just a little bit different with the values. I mean, we still have the 100, right? Now, he paid 132%. Now, as we've seen with the previous problems, the original price is usually the denominator, and it should be, because that would be considered 100% of the price. In this case, we don't know what the original price is. What we do know is how much Royce paid. And Royce paid $132. So 132 is part of the original amount. Now this is where a lot of students can get this part of the proportion correct. Okay, we can set this part up pretty well. It's this next part that comes that can be very difficult or troubling. It's 40% off the original price. Well, that doesn't mean that $132 is 40% of the original. 132 is 40% off of the original, which means that the original, which was 100%, 132 is 40% off. So I needed to subtract 40 from 100, which means that 132 bucks is 60% of the original price. Okay, so you have to be careful with the way these are worded and setting up your proportions, all right? Now that this is set up where 132 is 60% of the original price, we're ready to solve this proportion. So cross multiplication, 60 times x, 100 times 132, 13,200, and just divide by the coefficient of x, 60, to make that 1x. So x equals, let's find out, 132,000, whoops, too many zeros, divided by 60, bam, 220. So, in other words, the original price of whatever this item is would have been 220 bucks, and 132 bucks would represent 40% off of the original price. So if you need to go back, and when you're checking these, because hopefully you guys are checking, just make sure that it does represent 40% off, right? So in other words, you could say, well, I'm going to find 40% of 220, right? So 40% of 220, which is 88. So in other words, Royce got 88 bucks off of the 220, and then just take your 220 and subtract your $88 or 40% off, and you should get how much he paid, 132 bucks. And it does work. All right, same idea on this one. We have an original price. We got a markup. Well, a little bit different idea than that last one, but the same as the others. So we got a percent proportion, right? And we do know the percent. It's a markup of 12%. You know, let's use the second method on this one, okay? So it is a markup of 12%. But how much does that mean we're going to be paying at the end? Well, not only are you going to pay the 12%, you're also going to pay another 100%, which just includes the original price, you guys. So the 25 bucks is the original price, or it would have been the full amount originally, okay? So X is the part, which in this case is more than the original, or the whole, which is okay. So solving this problem, I got 112 times 25. There's a different color there. But 112 times 25, 2,800. And this equals 100 times x. Now just divide both sides by 100 to make that 1x, or the new amount after the markup appears to be 28 bucks. So, where it was originally priced at 25 bucks, an additional 12% would make it $28. And yeah, that's as far as we need to go on that one. So, if we wanted to look at this using the first method, right, you would have found that it's a $3 markup in dollars, whereas we did a percent markup in the beginning. So 3 plus the 25, bam, 28 bucks.